The 2XKO Alpha is finally here, and I've been playing it since day one. I haven't been playing it as much as like some of the people who have been mega grinding it. I think I saw Supernoon and Leffen pull longer than 20-hour streams in the first 2 days, which is absolutely insane. But in my 12 hours or so of playing it, I think I have a decent enough understanding to give my take as like a casual fighting game player. And I'm going to capitalize that because you need to understand that I am a casual fighting game player before you continue this video. I have a lot of things that I really want to say about this game. A lot of them are good, and unfortunately, some of them are pretty bad as well. But for starters, I just want to say that this game is beautiful, and it's genuinely really fun. It's the fighting game that fighting game players have dreamt about. If there's a mechanic that you like in fighting games, it probably exists here in one way or another. It is very much the everything game, which may sound exciting on paper, because it is, but when you look at it from a casual perspective, it is kind of overwhelming. I'm a casual player. I know that's taboo in the fighting game industry because people think you have to win EVO 4 times in a row to have any takes about anything. But I think now more than ever, the thoughts of casual players are going to come into play, which I want to explain in a second. But first, I want to do like a general gist of the mechanics in the game, just in case you don't know anything about it so that you can understand where I'm coming from. There are 6 buttons in 2XKO. You got your light, medium, heavy, special 1, special 2, and your tag. Obviously, light, medium, and heavy function as they do in every other 2D fighter ever. Special 1 and Special 2 function a lot like your B button in Smash Bros, where you press the button and a direction and then you get a special move. Except in this game, you have 2 B buttons. And of course, tag is your ability to tag in your partner. There's a lot of other mechanics that exist in this game too, like parries, command grabs, advancing guards, stances, etc. But I want to focus on some of the basic stuff that's kind of expected out of the gate. Your tag button can do multiple things, like multiple. If you tap it with a direction, it makes your side character come out and do one of 2 assists. You can hold the button down to make your second character keep running and position themselves while you're on the offensive. You can press tag and special at the same time to break out of an enemy combo, but get this. At any given time, while your second character is on screen, you can tap the tag button again to do something called a handshake tag and take over that character instantly wherever they are on the screen. It is such a complicated and genuinely very cool system, but holy shit, man. It kind of feels like your first time staring into the Matrix, except you can't understand what the fuck you're looking at. Like, imagine if when Morpheus uploaded Kung Fu into Neo, it malfunctioned, and he woke up speaking Spanish instead. It feels like that. Every character has 3 supers. Every character has 3 super moves, 2 level 1 supers, and 1 level 2 super. They cost that much meter, respectively. That's confusing, I'm sorry. And the roster, though only 6 characters right now, is variant enough in nature to make me say bravo. It's very well done, and they are all kind of sick. I know this isn't about the game, but I do want to commend Riot for somehow finding a way to make their characters always feel like they did in their initial release in League of Legends. Like, Echo is slippery and fast, putting himself in and out of danger, and Darius just kind of fucking kills you if you get close. A main thing that the devs said when they were making this game is that they didn't really want any complicated inputs, which is kind of a half-truth. Yes, there are no quarter circles or whatever the hell this is, but the timing and spacing for everything is kinda tight. The analogy I like to use is, would you rather lift one 30-pound dumbbell or 15 3-pound dumbbells? Like, I think the small dumbbells are kind of hard. There's a ton of like little mechanics that exist in between, like command grabs, overheads, and parries, but let's just move on from this part. Now that you have kind of a general understanding of a lot of the mechanics in this game, let's add another layer on top of it, because in this game there is something called fuses. Fuses are something that you select before the match starts, which basically change what is possible in your game. For example, there's a 2x assist fuse, which allows you to use an assist 2 times per summon of your side character, which can be the same assist twice or a combination of the 2. For example, Darius can normally shoulder tackle the opponent into the wall or apprehend them, but with this he can shoulder or apprehend or even shoulder apprehend. All the while, you'll still be able to swap into him at any second to do what you want to do. Freestyle allows you to handshake tag twice in a combo, which opens up an entirely new line of strings. Fury gives you a rage mechanic when you're under 40% and allows you to dash cancel a move. And then there's the Pulse Fuse, which is like the auto combo new player mode, which doesn't really do what I thought it was going to do. Now that we kind of understand how deep this game is and how deep it is going to be, we can dive into the part that's going to piss a lot of people off, just like I did on Twitter. There's a huge conversation being had right now about whether or not 2XKO is too difficult. And honestly, I kind of think that it might be. It's the fighting game that every fighting game player was dreaming about, but I can't really imagine any of my casual fighting game friends picking this up. The reason this is a problem is because the game is planning to be free to play. Smash Bros, Street Fighter, Tekken, etc. all make $60 every single time that someone picks it up. Even if people drop it within a week or two, those games make a massive portion of their revenue from 90% of the players that stop playing relatively quickly. 2XKO is going to have this very unique situation where people are going to download it in order to try it out, get to test everything and decide whether or not they want to persist through the lab hours that it's going to take to be halfway decent, and then they can decide to purchase cosmetics or whatever else is planned to be included via microtransactions. Riot Games does have an insane track record, and if there's any company that is going to figure this situation out, it is them. But the barrier of entry for this game is one of the highest that I have ever seen personally. Like, I tweeted about going on a 24 game loss streak, which actually did happen to me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to put this down, game's not for me XD, because I was tilted, and people got mad. People got kind of pissed. I got cooked alive out there, man. Obviously, this game is currently in alpha, and the only people playing it are primarily fighting game players who cared enough to try to get in the first place. On top of that, everyone is grinding it religiously since the alpha's only going to be out for 11 days, so everyone wants to get their fill. And skill-based matchmaking isn't enabled yet, so the skill disparities here are going to be a lot larger than they will be on release. God, I'm so sweaty. I'm so sweaty. There are two very crucial issues that I think Riot Games has to focus on primarily. The first, of course, being how not beginner-friendly this game actually is. Even with only 6 characters, it feels like the neurons in my brain are actively burning out every single time I try to do a combo string with more than one tag in it. The Pulse idea is very cool because it allows newer players to pick up and play this game instantly, but it's so strange that it takes up your fuse spot and puts players at an immediate disadvantage against people who use any other fuse. I think easier controls should obviously put you at a disadvantage because your chances of failing execution are significantly lower, but this locks new players out of an entire set of mechanics in the game. Also, let's say someone who really likes playing 2XKO decides they want to try to get their friend into it by inviting them to duos. Now, either the good player is going to have to struggle and go Pulse Fuse so that the newer player can do things, or the new player is going to struggle because they're not going to be able to choose Pulse Fuse. It's obviously a short oversight, and I think that Riot Games will solve this issue, but as it stands, it's kind of a little awkward. I'd much prefer if Pulse was like a control style with a form of nerfed damage or nerfed options so that new players can at least get a feel for how cool the other fuses can be. Maybe even increase the damage fall off of Pulse combos so they can't do long combos and win by pressing one button. I don't know, I'll let the devs figure that one out. I think that the place that 2XKO shines the most is in the style that the game was meant to be, 2v2, like 2 people versus 2 people. It is just so much more exciting to have to beg your friend to tag you in or continue a combo, and whenever you guys pull off something sick, it's just such a great time. Plus, I can just imagine as like a spectator how much more hype it would be to see a team pull off something that takes insane execution versus someone doing a TOD that they practiced for 100,000 hours in the lab. 2XKO is just a very, very complicated title, and that can be kind of suffocating to a casual player like myself. But if we can just take a peer behind the curtain, another aspect that kind of scares the hell out of me is balancing. Like, balancing a roster of fighting game characters is already an immensely difficult task. That task gets significantly more demanding when it's a tag fighter because now the team is forced to balance every character and every character's combination with every character. Then we add fuses into the mix and every character's combo has to be balanced with every character's assist and also their second assist if they go 2x assist, or their handshake tag if they go freestyle. And it just seems like such a monumentally difficult task. The depth is really alluring. In fact, I think as a spectator or even as a player of fighting games, it's a great thing if you're the type of person to really want to sink your teeth into something to grind for years. They leaned really hard into making this the everything game, and I do think that they nailed it. But unless you're one of the 0.1% that wants to compete in tournaments, I can't imagine why most people would spend like $60 on this. Unless Riot pulls like a Valorant and you could spend $90 to put Ari in some like Air Force Ones or some shit. It's a free game that I think most people are going to open, play for a few weeks, but like every game, there will be a massive fall off. And since this is a free game, the fall off is going to be tremendous. I do have a ton of faith in this game, and all of these takes are about the alpha, which people at Riot Games will figure out, I'm sure of it. But as it stands right now, it might just be a little bit more homework than anticipated. And I guess that's my whole analysis of it. It's a hard-ass game, and I think it's hard. And I do hope that Riot finds a way to make the tutorial better, to make the Pulse idea better, and to bridge the gap between newer players and harder mechanics. But as it stands in alpha, which obviously things aren't done, I don't think that the game is where it needs to be to give casual players the experience that they need to have in order to stick around and actually start spending money. I hope that this video made sense to some of you. I know I'm going to get cooked alive on Twitter again. And I do want to ask you guys, because I do read the comments on these, do you think 2XKO is too hard? Or if you haven't played it, does the game look like something that you would want to play, knowing the complexity of it? Casual players are so important. And I think that whether you're a casual or not, I really want to know how you feel about it. That's all I got to say. Have a wonderful day. Adios.